Do you want to know how to create and process CSV files using Python? Do you want to know how to do some of the complex CRUD operations like updating an individual cell or even deleting an entire column or even merging two or more columns together? Then you are in the right place. In this session, I am going to show you all these things using Python. Hello friends, welcome to my channel. This is Balaji, and in this channel I post weekly videos on tips and tricks to enhance your Python knowledge to apply it in a real-time project, and sometimes I also post videos on JavaScript and C#. So if you are new to this channel, consider subscribing it. So let's dive into today's topic, that is creating and processing CSV files using Python. So shall we start now? Yes. Here I am using VS Code as my text editor, but you can use any of your favorite text editor. Now I'll open a new folder for this project. Now I'll create a new Python file with the name app.py. So throughout this session we are going to see all these topics. First I'll show you how to create a new CSV file. So creating a CSV file is as simple as creating any normal file. So how would you create a normal file? Using open method. If you open any file in a write mode means it will create that file. So I am going to use the same procedure for creating CSV file too. So I'll type open, and then here we need to pass the file name. So I want my CSV file to be in my current directory, so I'll use // and the file name. This // represents the current directory. Okay. I'll name this file as users.csv. So users.csv. And I want to open this file in a write mode because we want to create a file, right? So we want to open it in a write mode. It will return a file object. So I'll store it in this file object. So file is equal to open, file name, and W for write mode. That's it. It will create a file. And once all the write operation is over, we need to close the file. How can we close the file? Using close method. So we need to use file.close. That's it. So this is the way you will open normal file. The same rule applies for CSV file. And as you may know, this way is not a recommended way to open the file, because in any case, if any exception occurs means this file.close won't get executed. For example, we have some problem in our writing operation here, then this file won't be closed properly. So what we need to do? We need to enclose this in a try catch block, and we need to enclose this particular line in a finally block. So it will look like this. But alternate way is to use with statement. It is just like this, with open, and then I'll just copy this thing, open user CSV in a write mode as file. So it will execute this line, and then it will store the result of this operation to this object. Okay, so this is how this with will work. So what is the advantage of using with compared to this try finally block? It will auto close all the external resources. In our case, it will auto close this opened file. We don't want to write any extra line of code to close the file, but it automatically closes the file once this block gets executed, or if any exception occurred within this block. In both of these cases, this file will get closed. Okay. So this single line will create this users.csv file. I'll just show you that. I'll open my terminal, and then I'll run this file, python app.py. See, users.csv got created, but it doesn't contain any information because we haven't added any row to it. So now I'll show you how to add new rows to it. Okay, I'll show you that. Normally a CSV file starts with its header information, means the first row of the CSV file will be the header row. So I'll create a new header data. Header is equal to, I'll create a tuple. To it, we need to pass the column information. What are all the columns that we need to have? Here in the CSV file, I'll store first name, last name, and age of different users. So I'll type all those things, first name, last name, and age. Okay, we created the header data. Now we need to create the actual user data, actual user details. So I'll create a tuple of tuple. where each tuple contains details of each user. Okay, so I'll do that. Here I'll start with my details and then I'll copy and paste it few times to also add few other user details also. Okay, I added few user details. Now we need to insert this header and user data into our user's CSV file. For that, I am going to get a help of one of the default module that ships along with Python, and that module name is CSV. I am going to import a writer object from this CSV module, and this writer object helps us to add any list or tuple as a row to our CSV file. Means what? We can add either a list or a tuple as a row to our CSV file. Okay, now we imported this writer object. Now I'll show you how to use it. So for that, I'll pass the reference of this opened file object to this writer object. And this writer object in turn returns a CSV writer object for us, which provides an interface for us to write a tuple or a list as a row into a CSV file. Now I'll show you how to use that. So here we need to add the header details as the first row before adding any other data. So for that, I'll use csvwriter.writeRow. To it, I'll pass header. This writeRow method is used to insert any list or any tuple as a row into our CSV file. This CSV writer object doesn't provide us any special method to insert header. We need to use the normal writeRow method to even insert the header row. Okay, and once I inserted header row, I need to insert the user details too. That is tuple of tuple. So I'll iterate over the tuple and then I'll add each and every tuple as a row. So for that, I'll again need to use csvwriter.writeRow of row, which helps us to add each and every tuple as a separate row. Now I'll run this program once again. That's it. I'll open it. Yes, we successfully inserted our user's data. But as you may notice, there is one problem here. Here, each and every row is followed by an empty row. So how to solve this problem? But before that, we need to identify what causes this problem. This problem is just because of the default LineTerminator used by our writer object. So by default, this writer object uses one LineTerminator which is used to terminate a line. The solution for this problem is to change the default LineTerminator. So I'll do that. I'll change the LineTerminator of this writer object to /n, which stands for a single new line. Okay, I'll save the changes. I'll run this program once again. Okay. Yes, we removed all the extra empty lines. Now you may wonder what is the default value of that LineTerminator property? That is /r/n. I'll just show you that. I'll change this /n back to /r/n, which is the default value. I'll save the changes. I'll run the program. We again get the same problem that we got before. So this is the default value of this LineTerminator property. I don't want this behavior, so I'll change my default LineTerminator value back to /n. Here, as of now, I showed how to insert a single row at a time using writeRow method. But what if you want to insert multiple rows at a time? For example, here in data, we have multiple rows. But what we are doing actually, we are using for loop. We are iterating over each and every row and we are inserting it individually one by one. But I don't want this approach because there is another option available in this writer object which helps us to do a bulk insert. Means inserting more than one row at the same time. So I'll show you that. But before that, I'll remove this for loop. And in order to do a bulk insert, I need to use csvwriter.writeRows. Instead of writeRow, you need to use writeRows. And to it, you need to pass your collection of rows. So I'll pass our data collection to it. Now I'll save the changes, run the program once again. See, now also our user data got added successfully. Means what? Our bulk insert is working fine. Now, as you may notice, the default column delimiter that this CSV writer using is comma. It used comma to separate values in a row. But I don't want comma as my delimiter. I want to configure it. I want to have tab as my delimiter. You can have any delimiter of your choice. Some of the common delimiters are comma, space, tab, semicolon, and even pipe operator. So these are all the common delimiters. Here I am going to use tab as my delimiter. So I'll go to this writer object and then I'll configure my delimiter to tab /t. That stands for tab, single tab. I'll save the changes, run the program. Oh, error. Oh, there's a typo here. It should be delimiter. Okay, now I'll run this program once again. I'll check this CSV file. Yes, now we have tab as our column delimiter. We don't have comma. We successfully configured it to tab. Okay, now I'll go back to my writer object and then I'll remove this delimiter configuration because I don't want any custom delimiter. I am just okay with the default delimiter, that is comma. I'm just okay with that. So I'll remove this custom delimiter. Okay, the writing part is done. Now I'll show you how to read data from a CSV file. For that, we need to use reader object of this CSV module. So I'll import it. And I'll also comment out this writing operation. Now, in order to read any file, you need to open that file in a read mode. So I'll use open function for that. I'll use with open./users.csv as file. So by default, this open method will open any file in a read mode if we haven't specified any mode. Since we haven't specified any mode as a second argument, this open method will open our users.csv in a read mode. Okay, we opened our users.csv in a read mode. Now we want to read its content. How would you normally read a file? Using file.read method. So I'll use file.read and then I'll print its result. Print of file.read. I'll save the changes, run the program. See, we get all the data, but oh, I got tab as my delimiter. What happened? Oh, I haven't rerun my program once I updated the delimiter property of this writer. But anyway, that doesn't matter. We'll try to parse this data itself. Now, can you guess the type of this data? Is it of type tuple of tuple? Okay, we'll check it. So I'll print type of this file.read. See, it's of type string. Okay. Now, since it's of type string, we can't anymore able to iterate over each and every row, and we can't able to access each and every cell value individually because it's not a type of list or a tuple of tuple, but it's a type of string. So how can we solve this problem? The solution is to convert the string back to a collection of collection. So I recommend you to pause this video and try this challenge on your own. Try to convert this entire string to list of list. That will be a good practice. So pause this video, try this challenge and then resume the video. I hope you tried that challenge, and suppose if you can't able to solve the problem, don't worry, I'll reveal the answer now. So this is the solution for that problem. Here I splitted each row based on our LineTerminator character, that is /n, and in order to split each cell of an individual row, we need to split the result of each row again by /t. That's our column delimiter. So I'll use list comprehension to solve this problem. So the solution looks like this. And this is our output. Okay, our output looks good. But as you may notice, there is some junk there at the end of our list. See, here there is an empty list. So even though we try to parse the result on our own and try to convert it back to a list of list, still we have some problems with it. We can even write a code to remove this junk list, but I'm not going to do that. But instead I'm going to use the default reader object of the CSV module because that makes my reading much more easier. I'll show you that. First I'll remove this print statement and then I'll call the reader, and to it I need to pass our opened file object, and then it will in turn return a CSV reader object which provides an interface to read data from our CSV file. So I'll just print this CSV reader. See, it's of type CSV reader. The CSV reader object is nothing but an iterator which helps us to iterate over each and every row of our CSV file. So I'll use for loop to access each and every row. So I'll use for row n CSV reader and then I'll print each row. Yes, it works, but it has some trouble in finding out my column delimiter. Because by default this CSV reader will search for comma delimiter, but we already changed it to a tab delimiter. So I want to let the CSV reader to know about my change. So to this reader I'll pass delimiter is equal to tab. That's it. See, now it works. Now guess what will happen if I rerun this for loop once again? Can you guess the answer? Okay, I'll reveal the answer. I'll run this program once again. But see, we can't able to see the output of our second for loop. We got only the output of our first for loop. Our second for loop doesn't get executed. That is because this reader object has an index or position that is initially set to the beginning of our CSV file. And after the end of our first for loop, that index goes to the end of the file. So when we try to iterate over it again using our second for loop, we are already at the end of the file. So we can't iterate over it anymore. So only we didn't get any result for our second for loop. Okay. So what's the solution of this problem? Usually we may want to iterate over our data many times. So the solution is to convert this CSV reader object to list. So I'll do that. I'll say list of CSV reader and then I'll store the result to data. Now I can iterate over this data again and again because it's a list. We can iterate it any number of times. I'll check it. Yes. Now we see the result of 2 for loops. Yes. So this is the most important thing that you need to take a note of. Now I'll show you another way to read and write data into CSV file, and that particular approach is more semantic than our current approach. So for that I'll create a new file and then here I'll import DictWriter from CSV module. Instead of writer I am importing DictWriter. So as a name itself suggests, this DictWriter helps us to add dictionaries into our CSV files. So like I told, it is more semantic than our list approach. In list we use index, but here in dictionary we use keys, which makes our code more semantic. So I'll show you how to use it. For that, first I'll copy my user data from the app.py and then here I'll use with statement to again open the file in a write mode. So with open /users.csv, w as file. Okay. Now instead of using writer, I am going to use DictWriter. So I'll use DictWriter of file. This will return a CSV writer. So I'll collect it. CSV writer is equal to okay. Normally using writer we can write list as a row into our CSV file, but using this DictWriter we can write a dictionary as a row into our CSV file. So using dictionary is much more meaningful than using list. So I'll show you that. So here as a first step you need to pass the header information to this DictWriter because it totally depends on dictionary. In dictionary we have keys. That keys will be mapped to this header. So we need to pass the header information. So for that we need to set field names equal to header. I'll just move this header declaration above this CSV writer so that I can have access to it here. Now we set up our DictWriter class successfully. We linked it to our users.csv and then we also passed the header information of that file. Now what we need to do? We need to write a data into that file. So I'll do that. So for that I'll use CSV writer.write row and then to it what we need to pass? We need to pass a dictionary. Earlier in writer object we passed a list, but here we need to pass dictionary. So I'll pause it. Now it will insert this dictionary as a row into our CSV file. So I'll show you that. I'll run this program. See, we have our data, but it didn't add our header data. Even though we linked our header data to this DictWriter class, it didn't add my header data automatically. That's because adding this field names property won't make our DictWriter class to insert header row automatically. It will just let the DictWriter class to know about the type of data that we are going to insert. Means what are all the keys that our dictionary will have when we write rows into it. To write the header data into the CSV file, we need to type CSV writer.write header. And then to it we don't need to pass any information. It will automatically take the header that is already linked to it. Okay. So this is the most important point that you need to make a note of, because this is a common mistake that I'll usually make when I code. I usually forget to add field names to the DictWriter class and then I'll pass the header information to this write header method. That won't work, guys. So don't forget to link your header information to your DictWriter class and then also don't pass any header information to the write header call. It should be empty. Okay, I'll run this program. See, now we got our header data inserted. But again we are facing this empty line problem. So in order to solve this, you need to pass LineTerminator property to DictWriter class. So I'll pause it. So here I'll set my LineTerminator to /n. I'll save the changes and I'll run this program once again. See, now our problem gets solved. Now can you guess what will happen if I remove this age and I add my hobby detail? What will happen? Can you guess it? Okay, we'll test it. I'll run this program. See, we got an error. That's because we don't have any information about the hobby in the header that we linked to the DictWriter class. That's the problem. So you can able to only add the data that are there in your header metadata. You can't able to add any more data. So if you want to add any new data, then you have to first modify your header metadata, and then only you can able to add that new data. So make a note of it. So I'll remove this hobby and then I will run this program once again. Yes, it runs successfully. Even though I haven't added the age information, still it accepts my data because there is no restriction to add all the data. We can enter the data that we want and then we can optionally leave the data that we don't want to add. And DictWriter will automatically handle the null values for us. See, here there is a comma. Means what? There is some empty data at the end of this line. And DictWriter adds this empty data for me. Okay, this time I'll add the age detail and then I'll remove the value of last name. We'll see what will happen. See, the DictWriter automatically adds the empty value for this last name. So this is the power of DictWriter. This is not possible in normal writer object. In normal writer object, if you want to leave any data, means you have to pass an empty string for that column. But in DictWriter, that's not needed. Also, in a writer object, we need to maintain an order of data because there we use list to insert a data. For list, order matters. Whereas in DictWriter, that's not needed. We can pass data in any order that we want. Because here we are using dictionary. In dictionary, order doesn't matter. See, now also it's working. Here also we can insert more than one row at the same time using WriteRows method. I'll quickly show that. So I'll type CSV writer.WriteRows and then to it I'll pass a collection of dictionaries. Here I added a tuple of dictionaries to this data object. I need to pass this data to WriteRows method. That's it. Meanwhile, I'll also remove this WriteRow method call. Run the program. Yes, it added all our data. Now I'll show you how to read a file using DictReader class. So first I'll import it from the CSV module. I'll comment out all the write operation. And then I'll type with open users.csv as file. I'm opening this file in a read mode. Now I'll create a new instance of DictReader and then to it I'll pass the opened file object. This will return a CSV reader object. So I'll collect it. And then in order to print each and every row, I need to iterate over this CSV reader. So I'll use for loop. So for row in CSV reader print row. Here instead of print I am going to use pprint, which will make the output to be printed much more cleaner. So in order to do so, I need to first import pprint from pprint module and then I can call pprint of row. That's it. Run the program. See, we got our result. Like reader object, we can't able to iterate over this DictReader object more than once. If we do so, we won't get any result. So in order to iterate it more than once, we need to convert it to a list of dictionary. So I'll type list of CSV reader and then I'll store the result in data. And then instead of iterating over CSV reader, I'll iterate over data. See, now we got our result. Okay, now I'll show you how to append new data at the end of your CSV file. For that, I'll create a new file and then here I'll open that file in an append mode. Okay, so I'll type with open users.csv, A. This is important. Here we are opening this file in an append mode. So whatever content we write will get appended to that file. You can use the same logic that you used for writing into that file. You can either use writer object or DictWriter. I'll quickly show you an example. For this example, I'm going to use DictWriter because I love to use DictWriter. So I'll use it. Now I don't want to waste your time by again typing all the content that you already know, but instead I'll pause this video and resume it once I am done. Here I used the same logic that I used to write into the file. I set up my DictWriter and I added few data. I used this WriteRows to update the data into that file. I'll run the program. Oh, I forgot to save my changes. I'll save the changes and then I'll rerun the program. See, now our users.csv gets updated with this new data. Now I'll show you how to update an individual part of the CSV. For example, updating specific cell. That will be more interesting. So for that, I'll create a new file, update.py. And then here, as a first step, we need to open this file in a read mode and then we need to get all the data from it. So I'll do that. Here I used DictReader to read data from users.csv. For example, consider I need to change the age of Vijay. For that, first we need to update the data that we got from the DictReader. So I'll do that. I'll iterate over the CSV reader and then I'll check for Vijay's record. If row of first name is equal to Vijay, then I'll update row of age is equal to 24. Okay, currently I set his age to 23. I'll update it to 24. Okay. Now can you guess what will happen if I run this program? Will it update the file? Can you guess it? I'm sure you already got it. It won't update the file because here we open the file in a read mode, not on any other mode. So it won't update your original file. See, it doesn't update. Then how to update it? Before that, I'll remove this duplicate entry and I'll save it. Now I'll show you how to update the data of users.csv and then how to place it into a new file. After that, I'll show you how to update the original file itself. But first, I'll show you how to place the updated data into a new file. Okay. For that, I'll open a new file in a write mode. For example, users updated.csv. I'll open this file in a write mode. Now I'm going to use DictWriter to write the updated data into our new file. So I'll import it and then I'll quickly configure it. Okay, here I wrote a code to read data from our users.csv and I stored the reader data into this data object. And then I created users updated CSV and then I used DictWriter to write all the data of users.csv into this users updated.csv. Now this users updated is an exact clone of our users.csv, right? Now what I am going to do is within this for loop, I'll just check for if row of first name is equal to Vijay. Means I'm just checking for particular condition and then I'm going to update the corresponding cell. So I'll update row of age is equal to the updated value 24. Currently it is 23. I'll update it to 24. That's it. Save the changes, run the program. See, we got all the data that is there in our users.csv and then we also updated the corresponding record. Okay. So this is a way to place the updated content into a new file. Now I'll show you how to update the original file itself. For that, there's a simple technique. Instead of users updated.csv, you just say users.csv. That's it. Here we first read data from users.csv and then we paste that data into this data object. Now this data object contains all the details of our users.csv. Now we again opened this users.csv in a write mode which will empty that file. And then we are again writing the data that we already have in our data object into this users.csv. Meanwhile, we are also updating few parts that we want. Once we updated the data that we want, we are writing that updated data into this users.csv. So that's the process. Now we'll test this program by running it. See, we got our data updated. Earlier it was 23, but now it was 24. Means what? Our updation works successfully. Now I'll show you another way to update a file. That is by using temporary file. So I'll again change this value to 23. So in order to create and use temporary file, you need to first import named temporary file function from temp file module. So I'll do that. From temp file, import named temporary file. This function helps us to create a temporary file in system temp directory. So I'll use it. Temp file is equal to named temporary file and then to it I need to pass the mode of the file. Here I'll pass W as my mode. Means I want to create a temporary file and then I need to open it in a write mode. This function is similar to opening any file in a write mode. But this function will create a file in our temp directory. And we don't want to pass any name to it. It will automatically choose some random name. Okay. Now instead of writing into our file pointer directly, I will write all my updated data to this temporary file. So I'll remove the with statement and then I'll update the file pointer to temp file pointer. Okay, that's it. It will work. Now after writing into the temporary file, I'll close it. So temp file.close. And then before that, I'll also print the name of the temporary file. So I'll use printf tempfile.name. So this property will return our temporary file name. Okay. So I'll run this program. See, we got our temporary file name. So this is the temporary file that was created for us. So I'll copy this name and then I'll go to my temporary directory and then I'll search for it. But see, there is no file there in that directory. Oh, what is the problem? So as I already said, the file that we created was a temporary file. So this file will be automatically deleted when we close that file. So here, since we closed this file, that file will get deleted automatically. So that was the problem. So how to prevent it? We can prevent it by slightly configuring our named temporary file call. So I'll do it. I'll pause delete is equal to false. By default, it will be true. Since I passed false, it won't delete our temporary file automatically. So I'll save the changes and I'll run this program. Okay. Now I'll copy this new temporary file name and then I'll search for it. See, there's a file. Now I'll open the content of that file. We'll see whether we have all our data. See, we have all the details of our users.csv with the updated content. Now I need to move the content of this temp file back to our users.csv. We can do that by using shuttle module. So I'll import it. So import shuttle, and then here after writing the data into our temp file, I'll type shuttle.move. As a first argument, you need to pass the path of your source file from where you need to move the content. So here I need to move the content of our temp file. So I'll pass its path, tempfile.name. As a second argument, you need to pass the path of your destination file to where you need to paste the file. So here that will be our users.csv. So I'll pass its path /users.csv. So make sure to close your temp file before moving it. Okay. Because this move method will delete our source file after moving it. So close your source file before moving it. Okay. Now I'll save the changes and I'll run the program. See, our users.csv got updated. Now we are not updating it directly, but we are creating a temporary file with the updated content and then we are moving the temporary file back to users.csv. That's the process that we are following now. Currently, we are not using with statement to open our temp file, so we need to manually close it. So I am going to manage the temp file with the help of with statement so that it can handle the file close operation. So first I'll remove my call to tempfile.close and then I enclose this writing block with block. Now it can handle the closing of the file appropriately. Now we'll test this program by again running it. Yes, it's working fine. Currently we saw how to update a single cell. Now I'll show you how to update an entire row. That's so simple. Here we are checking for the row that we want to update and then we are updating an individual cell of it. But now I am going to update the entire row itself. So I'll pass a new dictionary to it and then to it I'll pass the data that I want to update. And then I'll set the first name to, I don't know, updated first name. And then similarly I'll set values for all the columns. That's it. Here we are updating the entire row. See, our entire row got updated with this new value. Okay. Now I'll show you how to delete existing columns and add new columns. For example, here I want to delete this first name column and last name column and then I want to create a new column named name with the content of both this first column and last column. Okay, so we will do that. So here once we read data from our users.csv, we are creating a temporary file with all the columns of our users.csv. Now we don't want to do that because we don't want first name and last name, but instead we want name column. So I'll remove this first name and last name and I'll add name. Now I'll go to this for loop and then first I'll remove this if condition because I don't want to update any individual cell. So I'll remove it and then here to this right row I'll pass a new dictionary and I'll set name to row of first name plus space plus row of last name. And then I'll set age to row of age because I don't want to do anything with that. So I'll exactly copy it. Okay. That's it. Save the changes, run the program. See, now we don't have our first name and last name column, but instead we have name column with the data of first name plus last name. Yes. Now I'll show you how to delete an entire row. For example, I want to remove the detail of Gokul. So I'll show you how to delete this entire row. So I'll go to this update.py and then before writing my data, I'll first check for if row of name is equal to I'll copy his name, Gokul S. Suppose if it is the record of Gokul S, then skip the current iteration so that I can prevent the CSV writer from writing his record into our CSV file. Then I'll also update this write row call. Instead of writing this dictionary, this time I want to write the entire row itself. So I'll update it to row. So now it will write all the record except Gokul's record because we skipped his iteration. Okay, that's it. Save the changes, run the program. I'll check this file. See, we don't have Gokul's record. We have others record, but we don't have Gokul's record. That's the way to delete an entire row. Now finally, I'll show you how to delete this entire CSV file. For that, I'll create a new file with the name delete_csv.py. And then here I'll import the OS module. And then I'll type os.remove. And then to this function, I'll pass the path of the file that we want to remove. Here it is /users.csv because this is the CSV file that we want to remove. Save the changes, run the program. See, our users.csv got deleted. So this is a way to delete any file including CSV file. Okay, that's it for today's session. Thank you for being with me still here. I hope this video helps you to create and process CSV files using Python. If you like this video, just thumbs up for this video and then share it with your friends. And then finally, don't forget to subscribe to my channel to never miss my weekly updates. So meet you soon in one another video. Till then, thank you and goodbye.